Welcome back to Pontypool Golf Club. My name's Leon Warren, PGA professional. Here today to cover some short game skills with you, one of them being chipping. Good opportunity through this time of year now to start doing some work out in the back garden, even if you've got some airflow balls or sponge balls or nothing at all, just some practice, just to get a feel for producing some good technique. Now, chipping, that's when we're very, very close in around the sort of close quarters of the green, around the outskirts, around the edges. And we're just trying to lift the ball just to get it started onto the green and then it run out to the flag. So you can experiment with many clubs with chipping. I've got a sand wedge here today, just to give us some sort of idea. And what I tend to see as big faults amongst amateurs with chipping is generally down to poor contact. When I say poor contact, we've all probably done it at some point, but what we call a blade or a thin, where the club has kind of come up and hit halfway up the ball and we've hit off this leading edge of the club, producing this top spin, which really makes it shoot through the green. Or the alternatives where the club hits the ground first, either heavy and it bounces and creates a thin. So those faults you might be aware of. How we fix them is going to be really, really important, and to get some confidence in your chipping so that you can gauge your distance as well. First most important thing is good contact. If you haven't got good contact, you're never going to have good judgment. So I always say to golfers, really work hard on your strike first of all. And how we achieve that is through two things. A good setup, most important, and then the second thing is through some technique. Now, setup is quite simple. And if you just take these few things I'm going to mention today on board, it will help really start to get the feeling of chipping better. Now, feet closer together is key. We don't want our feet shoulder width apart. We're not playing a full shot. So bring the feet in nice and close together. That will give you some feel in your stroke, and that's really important. Ball position. Keep it consistent. Keep it in the middle of your stance most of the time, and really in the central part of your stance there. That's going to help with that club bottoming out at the right place. And then the weight. Making sure, this is really important, that your weight is 60% on your left side. That's what I tend to suggest and recommend. So I tend to have a little bit of lean on my left side, about 60%. That tends to push my shaft also slightly ahead as well by doing that. You'll see that on the camera there. I don't want to be leaning back. You'll see a lot of amateur golfers, their left shoulder pointing up in the air, weight on their back foot, really wanting to try and help the ball up. Do not do that. Always keep your weight on your left side and stay there. Again, very important, stay there in this position when you actually come to strike that golf shot. Okay, so that's our setup. The second thing is the technique, and I think most golfers again probably relate to this, and they'll feel that they again lose a bit of confidence and they want to try and help the ball up, and they end up getting what we call flippy or wristy. And again, that really encourages poor striking, because as soon as I get wristy, that really shows off the leading edge of the club. Club's not showing the club face correctly, I'm going to get poor strikes. We want to get the ball running at the face best we can, and in that respect, the shaft as we hit the golf ball will always stay slightly ahead of the club face, never behind. Okay, so that's why our setup is really important with that central stance, ball position, little bit of weight on the left side. So straight away I'm promoting that slight shaft lean, and I stay in that position also at the point of impact. Okay, so that's setup. The next bit is that technique, how we strike that golf ball and our stroke itself. Now, to get rid of that wristy action, I tend to focus hard on my chest area here and use that as a way of hitting the golf ball. Not my hands. My hands are just holding onto the club nice and light. My chest is the one that's really making the club go through the golf ball. So I'll give you a little drill in a second which will encourage that. In fact, what I do when I'm teaching other golfers, we have this unusual looking club. It's a normal sand wedge, but with this extension on the end. It's not one you'd have in your golf bag, but what I'd suggest is I'm just going to hold it traditionally on the normal grip and take my setup ball in the middle of my stance. Then you'll see that shaft lean, you'll see the end of the shaft sticking out here to my left side. The good thing about something like this is it'll give the idea about that technique, in that if I start to flick my wrists, straight away it's hitting into my left side. I can feel that. No, I'm doing it wrong, incorrect. I want to be able to keep that shaft away from me. So you'll see there my chest is coming up. My hands are nice and quiet. They're nice and passive. They're very, very quiet. That's quiet hands, that's what I call them. We don't want to be flicky or wristy. So this little drill's great for keeping the push forward, keeping the shaft away from you. I'll demonstrate that with a shot. Give it a go. Now, I can appreciate none of you would have one of these clubs, but what it's just giving you a sort of an idea what we're trying to do. So weight forward, ball in the middle of our stance, and I'm just going to focus now on leaning my weight slightly forward, 60%, and I'm going to feel like that chest now is hitting the shot for me. And nice connection off the club face. Really, really important. I'm not worried about distance at this point or judgment. I'm thinking of that nice connection. Now, if you haven't got one of these, I'm sure you haven't, but one thing I tend to suggest people use is you see these training sticks around, we sell them at the shop, but you'll see them around quite often. You could use the electrical type things, which I've got here. You could use a bamboo stick, just be careful you don't get any splinters, but I'm going to hold that now onto the grip. And there's some excess sticking out the side, so it's the same principle. We don't want this stick to hit us on our left side. Ball in the middle of the stance, little lean forward, and you can see with my chest coming up, I'm keeping that away from me. I'm not flicking, straight and hitting to my left side. So ball in the middle of my stance, a little bit of pressure on my left side, shaft lean slightly forward. I'm just going to use my chest now to hit that golf ball, and it produces that nice strike. Great little drill, something to practice in the back garden with, or even in the lounge. Just be careful. Hope you found that informative today. If you do like our videos, we are posting more of them on our YouTube page, Leon Warne PGA Professional. Give us a thumbs up. It's free to subscribe. Enjoy your golf. See you soon.